Starting a new business is never easy. Not only do you have to figure out a pain point that is common in the marketplace, but then you have to have a direction to take that solution and clients to follow. Well, our guest today is going to give you the 7 steps you need to take to ensure that your small business is successful. He is also going to tell you the most common mistake small businesses make so you can avoid making that mistake in your business. Stick around. Part 1 of this action-packed interview is coming up next.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy.
Today's guest is Carl Gould, author, entrepreneur, and business growth expert. Carl has written 3 books: Blueprint for Success, The 7 Stages of Small Business Success, and, most recently, Biz Dev Done Right. Carl has also regularly appeared on the house improvement reality TV show ThisHouseToo. Lastly, Carl co-hosts Quit and Get Rich on iHeart Radio and has mentored the launch of over 5,000 businesses. So if you want to take your company to the next level, or just want some growth tips, tricks, and tools, then you don't want to miss today's episode.
Carl, my brother, thank you for joining us today. This is going to be a fun one. I kind of think that you and I are going to, kind of mix it up a little bit. I kind of view today as kind of like a little wrestling ring because, you and I are in a very similar business, and You've got your content, I've got my content, and I want to challenge each other today. Can we do that? Can we just kind of like get in there and kind of mix it up a little bit?
Cage match, my friend. Close the door. Only one of us gets out alive.
No, we can both get out alive, but we can push each other a little bit, right? Because
I like it.
Look, you're a growth expert. I'm a profitability consultant. We're in the same area trying to help businesses take their game to the next level. And as you and I know, generally what's keeping these folks back is not their lack of knowledge, but the stuff that happens right between their 2 ears, right? So often that's where it starts. So, look, you were just on the phone with a brand new client, and I obviously don't want you to divulge anything about that particular client. But what do you see over and over again, and before they even finish your sentence, you're like, I've seen this scenario before?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know how it goes. When you're focused on one thing, that means you are deleting 10 other things, and so we all have our own filters. And as an entrepreneur, God bless us all, it's that pig-headedness, that persistence, that single-mindedness, that strong will that helps us launch, get started, overcome the early rejection and criticism of the marketplace, gain acceptance. And then what happens over time is we build references. We're like, well, that was good, that was good, that was good. And once a business starts to surround us, we started out, it was us against the world. But then once the world's on our side, we've got to switch gears a little bit, start to put some systems and processes around what we do, and we have to start relinquish some of that control, and we have to let other people be the star there, and that can be a challenge. Most entrepreneurs start out as control freaks, and then over time they've got to relinquish some of that control and train others to do it equally as well, if not better than them. And that's not always an easy transition for entrepreneurs. So they get wound up a little bit in what should work or what they think works, and because they're so isolated in their thinking, and they're it's a tough and lonely position to be an owner. Their mind starts to run crazy a little bit, and they're not always making the best decisions. And in some ways, all the data and information that is available to us right now does not aid them in decision making. A lot of times it confuses the matter.
Well, with thoroughbreds, right? When they're racing and they're in the starting blocks, so many of them have blinders on, right? They're literally these things that go on the left of their eyes that keep them focused straight ahead. And as entrepreneurs, I think we almost need a set of these physical blinders. What are some of the techniques that you teach your clients in order to stay focused on what's most important?
Wow, great question. So what's most important really depends on what stage of development you're in. So if you're in launch phase, you are focused on influencing the marketplace, marketing, getting your message out, go. You sell it first, you build it second. You're selling people on the dream as to why they should work for you and why they should buy from you. When you get into your second stage of development, you're focused on becoming an authority. I define my niche. Now I'm focused on what is my differentiation? How am I different? Why should people listen to me? What makes me an authority? That sort of thing. You get to the third stage of development where you need to focus your energy on is building your team. Because if you did it right in the first stage and you did it right in the second stage, you ought to be busy beyond all get out. And you will bring in more work than just the time you have will allow. You'll run out of capacity. So you've got to build a team. Now, you build a good enough team that's passionate and aligned in your mission and vision. Next item that you need to focus on are systems. And so you now have a bunch of standards. You have aligned people around your mission and vision and your passion and purpose, but it's got to be systematized. It's got to live beyond you. And so now it's time to scale. So when you get into the scalable stages of development, now your energy actually turns inward. Your client they've always been the employee, your internal client, but that's your most important client, and your systems need to become the star, because if your systems and your team can provide a certain experience, you can be ultimately scalable. So you need to turn you need to turn inward. But then once you get to that level of business, when you're a scalable company and systematic, your focus changes again. Your focus you're going to spend as much time acquiring revenue as you will selling revenue, meaning you go out and you sell a project, a job, an hour of your time or whatever, and you get paid for that hour, for that one client. But now, once you get into the later stages of development, you're looking into acquisition, acquiring strategic alliances, joint ventures, affiliates, franchisees, or maybe you're looking to buy an entire business, but you start to network and sell at a higher level. I was talking to a client recently, and he was a CFO, and I said, "You're going to become the top salesman in the company." And he was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not a sales guy." I said, "Well, yeah, your job as CFO now is to go out and find other businesses and assets to buy." I said, "You do it right, and you find the right business to buy, you will become the lead salesperson in the company, because you will be responsible for as much, if not more, revenue than any other salesperson in the company." And he was like, "Huh, hadn't really thought of it that way." So, where your focus is absolutely depends on what stage of development you're at. Because here's the thing we've learned over the years, Thor, is that you can do all the right things, but in the wrong sequence or at the wrong time, and you won't get your result. Or worse, you'll get knocked backwards because you tried the right thing in the wrong sequence. A cart is great and a horse is great, but you put the cart in front of the horse is not good at pushing things, it's good at pulling things, and the cart's not going anywhere without a propulsion system. So, the cart and the horse in the wrong order all of a sudden are a traffic jam. Cart and the horse in the right order, and you've got a great tool and a great vehicle. So you really need to focus on where you are in your development. But for the person more than likely listening to this podcast right now, it's focus on marketing, lead generation, building your authority in the space, and convincing clients why they should pay more to work with you, convince employees convince employees why they should come and work for you. So you're building that right culture. I mean, that's where I would place my my energies right now.
Now, I was going through and I was writing those down. Was there a seventh stage after acquisition?
There actually is. So yeah, so I'm the 7-stage guy. The 7th stage is a small business success. So in the 6th stage is when you start, is what we call saleability, when you maximize the saleability and the merger and acquisition power of your company. But it's the 7th stage is when you create a legacy business where you get to fire employee number 1. That would be you. And you would then employee number 1. And then what you would do is you would replace it with a professional, manager of sorts. And that would be at stage 7. And then when you turn it over to the next management group, the next leadership, then the business would actually be worth more than it is now, because the marketplace will have recognized that you have put a really good manager in place, and the new leadership is ready to take the business to new heights.
Got it. I think I added an extra one in there because the first one was lead gen, marketing. Second phase was establishing yourself as an expert. 3 was team. 4 was systems. 5 was scalability. 6 was acquisition, and then I had saleability and then legacy. Oh, I'm sorry, not legacy. Did I add another one?
Yeah, number 6 is stage 6 is saleability. Stage 7 is succession.
Success. Okay, got it. All right. So actually, acquisition and scaling is all part of the same stage. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, scalability is 5. That's your sustainable, scalable. 6 is saleability, and merger and acquisition. Because when you're increasing your saleability, it works in the reverse too. If you have a business that is very saleable, there's a few implications. You have a good cash position. You're profitable month in, month out, and you have a strong management team. So not only could you sell, but others will want to partner with you. Others will want to. Might want you to buy them.
Got it.
Instagram was built to sell to Facebook, and some people have built their businesses to sell to a company like a stage 6 business, like Amazon. That's a good example. Amazon is a good example of a stage 6 business. Uber is a stage 6 business. These are companies that rely on acquisition. You might remember Waste Management, the company that rolled up and bought all of these waste management companies and created a national company. That's a stage 6 business. So you can sell, or you can acquire, or you can merge, but the implication of how strong your business is all similar.
Yeah, we always talk about, most people think that they're business owners where really the business owns them, and it's not until the point where you get professional management team in place where you're actually a business owner. I joke all the time, or not joke about it,
right
but,
on.
I own Amazon.
Until that business can run without you, it is what we would call a practice, or self-employment. Once you are in the position where the business can run without you and it's a bit of a machine, then you have business implies that there's a machine that runs. You turn the key, and then the machine runs on its own, until you put it into gear and it goes and it knows exactly what to do. You work the controls and it does all the work.
Maybe I missed your point earlier, but the question I had earlier was, what's some of the biggest mistakes that you see small businesses making?
So when we first meet a client, one of the first things we do with them is we look at their pricing strategy. And almost always, Thor, they are underpricing and undervaluing their services. And it's not because they don't think they are. They're like, oh, no, I'm expensive. We're like, you're not exactly all that expensive. As a matter of fact, we think you can raise your rates an awful lot. And with the resistance they'll push back. They'll say, oh, no, I can't because clients will leave or we'll be we'll be higher than our competition. And what we find is that they're actually very emotionally connected to their pricing, and more often than not, they are underpricing themselves, and they're under. Now, this is an important point, because this isn't just like, oh, I got to raise my price so people I could say I charge more. The reality is that The reality is that your clients, your important clients, your top clients, your favorite clients, your most loyal clients, they want the opportunity to be your premier clients. And if you don't give them that opportunity, they'll go somewhere else where they can be the top client. So in other words, if you're an Atlanta Braves fan, you want to sit, behind home plate or right behind the dugout, front row, or you want that box seat. But if you don't offer those seats, they're going to say, well, I'll go somewhere else where I can get those box seats, And so we need to have, you need to have dynamic pricing that includes a premium concierge exclusive VIP offering. You and I met years ago in the Tony Robbins organization, and I went to a Tony Robbins seminar in 1990, and it was $600, $595 to go to it, right? 28 years later, it's the same amount of money to go.
Yeah.
But what he's done, I can get the same general admission ticket for the same price, and everyone's like, really? How is that? And I said, well, look what he's done. He went from he had just general admission, and then he went to general admission and VIP seating, and then he said more people wanted better than that, so he had his diamond elite, platinum, and so now all of those upgraded seats sell as much as his general admission, because his clientele wanted to have that preferred status. And so we underestimate how much our clients enjoy the intangibles of working with us over and above the utility of the product or the service, right? I can buy my gas. Oh, well, all right. You know what? I wasn't going to do this, Thor. I wasn't going to rub it in everyone's nose, but I think I need to.
From Jersey. Of course you were going to.
I have to. So in New Jersey, among all the other reasons why you'd want to live here, you do not have to pump gas in New Jersey. It's full serve. We are. I think there's like 2 states left.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Us in Oregon. Us in
something
Alaska,
like that. Yeah.
Or Hawaii. Something. I don't know. There's like one other. But anyway, of all the reasons to live here, here's another one. So I can buy my gas anywhere, but when I pull in, they full serve in Jersey. So, I can go somewhere and pay my whatever per gallon and be treated well or not be treated well. Have the convenience store attached to it or not. Be able to go to a car wash nearby or not. So it's oftentimes the intangibles, not just the utility of the product or the service. And so, I see somebody walking around with a Timex watch, it's $100, and I see somebody walking around with a Rolex watch, it's $5,000. They both tell the time and date. It's all they do, but it's the intangibles that separates the two timepieces. And so, the Timex buyer looks at the Rolex buyer and says, "What are you, nuts? What the hell are you doing that for?" And the Rolex buyer looks at the Timex buyer and says, "What are you, nuts? The hell are you wearing that thing for?" And so they just appeal to different folks. And so, a big mistake is they underestimate how much their clientele actually values them. As a matter of fact, quick formula. So for all of your listeners out there right now, I'll ask you a question, think of a percentage number, right? So if you were to go out and raise your pricing 1%, you called up all your clients and said, I got to raise prices 1%. What percentage of your customer base would leave you? They would abandon you because, you know what? You're too expensive, right? If you said 0, my next question is, what if you raised it 3%? What percentage? If you raised it 5%, what percentage? If there's any number you can raise your pricing and you think that 0% would leave you, that means your clients love you for something other than the utility of the product and the service. And as soon as you say that, what that means is that you are undervaluing your intangibles, and you should start raising your pricing to the highest possible level and creating levels of engagement in your company so your customers can choose what kind of client they get to be with you.
That's one of the big ones early on.
Yeah, I took a client
I took him shoe shopping. I wasn't there to buy him shoes. I was there to have him spend a bunch of money on a new pair of shoes because he had an amazing year, and it was just about forming a new identity for him. He wasn't the same business owner, the same leader he was last year. So, of course, I take him, right? And then what do I end up doing? I end up spending, a bunch of money, too, on shoes, and that was not my intent. And I realized as I walked out, I said, I think I spent more money on these shoes than I did my first car. And you know what? And I walked out smiling. It's never the price. It's about the experience and what you give that customer. So do you find that price attachment or inability, unwillingness, I should say, to want to move off that in service and in product arenas? Because I'm sure it's a lot easier in the service arena because there's not a high fixed cost of goods sold there. But when they're actually selling a product, do you find that same sort of resistance? Which one's more likely to move, or both equally?
Well, it's a really good question because you're in service. You usually have it's a little bit easier when you have a service business to increase your pricing, but it does apply to product as well. So, like in a service business, that could be your ticket to Disney World. You buy the upgraded ticket so you can skip the line. But like you said, when it comes to shoes, you can have the, $50 value shoe. You can have the $100 mid-level shoe and the $150 higher-end shoe, as an example. One is fake leather, one's real leather. One's has a certain type of metal plated belt, and one has a solid steel or stainless steel or titanium, authentic metal, right? So it goes into the materials, the craftsmanship, but you can certainly do it with products as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, Purdue did it with chicken, right? And then South Africa did it with the Cougaron. I mean,
yeah.
It's gold. It's a gold coin, just like all the other gold coins in the world, but the Cougaron actually gets a premium. Why?
Yeah. And so they'll put other reasons. They'll put other reasons why it's got a preferred status on it, and then all of a sudden it becomes more desirable, and then its reputation almost feeds upon itself.
Yeah. Look at diamonds. Yeah. Who controls the diamond trade? What's that? De Beers. De Beers basically controls the diamond industry worldwide. Why is a diamond, a 1-carat diamond, worth $10,000 and a 1-carat ruby is worth $100,000?
Yeah.
Why?
And, exactly. There's no good reason. They just made it. They've controlled the market and kept it scarce.
Yeah.
So
and
that
they've kept it scarce.
Yeah.
There are more diamonds out there. It's amazing how they keep it limited quantities.
Yeah, because you could gravel if you. Where diamonds are abundant. Here, perfect example, lobster.
Yeah.
Lobster around the world is a delicacy, but if you live up in Newfoundland, they call them the Newfies. They restrict the amount of farming or hunting you could do for lobsters unless you're a Newfie. If you live in Newfoundland, you can for your own use, you can capture as many lobsters as you want. Well, you know what? They're like carp up there. They're like goldfish, because they're not scarce.
Right.
So you go up there, you've got lobster soup and lobster sandwich and lobster bisque and lobster anything, because it's all over the place. But for someone else where it's scarce, then I think that's when you could put that higher price on.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.
Be on the lookout for part 2 of our conversation with Carl, where he tells us how many minutes a day you should focus on lead generation, in addition to the 9 steps to every transaction. I'll see you guys on another episode of Peak Performers Podcast.